G'day and welcome back to another health and wellbeing webinar. Today we're going to talk about our relationship with food and why it is just as important as the food we eat itself. Again, I'm joined by our health and wellbeing clinician here at Kinaway, Brendon. And before we get too far into today, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which you may be viewing. I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and I'd also like to extend that respect to any Indigenous people that may be watching. Again, as I said straight off the top, today's another health and wellbeing webinar about eat well, feel well, why our relationship with food is just as important as the food we eat. So I think we'll kick it off. Brendon, do you want to explain a little bit about why our relationship with food is important?
Yeah, it is important. We need to learn how to put ourselves first and nourish ourselves in a way that works for us. Thanks, Jason, and hi everyone. Look, diet has become a four-letter word, one that both wellness companies and nutrition experts are erasing from their vocabulary, and for good reason. Strict diets just don't work for most people over the long haul. But quitting dieting doesn't mean giving up on good health. In fact, the non-diet approach to nutrition is all about eating healthfully in a way that works for us, without restriction, food rules, or micromanaging what we eat. The approach is resonating. There was something published. I've done some research on this, and one of the first non-stream, non-diet books is now being in their fourth edition and sold heaps of copies. And what non-diet dietitians are amassing, huge followings on social media. More and more celebrities and influencers are speaking out against the harms of restrictive diets and the unrealistic and unsustainable thin ideal. And most importantly, many long-time dieters have improved their relationship with food and their bodies by stressing less about food and learning to enjoy eating again. Part of what makes the non-diet approach sustainable is that it's about feeling your best, not about changing your body in order to look a certain way. If you want to make your health a priority, we'll talk more about this approach and how it can help physically and mentally, and some tips about getting started.
Brilliant, mate. So is diet just about making yourself healthier?
Yeah, good question. Many people view diets as a sort of necessary evil for getting healthier, but plenty of experts beg to differ. There's a quote that diets really aren't helpful or health promoting in the long run. Research has shown that dieting isn't a good choice for long-term well-being either. There was a paper published, when was that? In 2020. The researchers found that although most of the diet studied led to weight loss in the first 6 months, participants had already started to regain weight at the 1-year mark. And while health benefits like lowered blood pressure and lowered cholesterol, and that's common after 6 months on a diet, those benefits basically disappeared at the 1-year mark. Plus, diets have mental and emotional impacts that often go unmeasured. And a different kind of survey, they were looking at any existing evidence and found that diets rarely lead to long-term weight loss. They also highlighted that diets increase a person's risk of an eating disorder and disordered eating behaviours, and concluded that dieting may carry more risks than benefits. The study also showed that in general, diets totally ignore the fact that everyone's relationship with food is complex. Diets treat humans like math equations. Eat these foods in these amounts and you'll get these results. And ignore the fact that what you eat impacts so much more than your body size and physical health. And although they promise better health and lasting behaviour change, diets often lead to, disordered eating symptoms like ongoing weight fluctuations, rigid eating and exercise routines, unhealthy compensatory behaviours like exercising or purging to make up for what you've eaten, and an overall preoccupation with food and weight that negatively impacts your quality of life. So these behaviours have mental health consequences like ongoing anxiety, guilt, and shame around food. And although there's some debate about the physical consequences of these behaviours, um, there's been some experimental research that's linked weight cycling, which is repeatedly losing, gaining weight, typically as a result of dieting, and that's related to an increased risk of type 2 diabetes and poor, cardiovascular health.
Yeah, very interesting, mate. So, can you talk to me about why, or should our relationship with food bring us joy?
Bring us joy, yeah. Although not everyone who diets will develop an eating disorder, pretty much everyone who's tried dieting can relate to the stress, guilt, and shame that come with falling off the wagon, so to speak. So the beauty of a non-diet approach, on the other hand, is that there's no way or there's no wagon to fall off. So another key element of the non-diet approach is viewing food as more than just nourishment. Yeah, what you eat impacts your health, but it should enrich your life in other ways too. Food can have cultural significance, provide comfort, and be a way to connect with others. And unlike what restrictive diets might tell you, it's possible to lean into all these aspects of your relationship with food while also nourishing yourself as well. Um, there was a quote by another dietitian who says that when they're working with clients, we talk about nutrition in a way that's flexible and integrates food they enjoy. We never talk about foods as being good or bad. Um, so instead of prescribing, strict meal plans, this specialist says that you should pay attention to how different foods make you feel, and listen to your hunger and fullness cues instead of obsessing about calories and portion sizes. For example, instead of avoiding all starchy carbs in the name of a New Year's resolution, give yourself permission to make them a part of each meal alongside other foods that have delicious tastes as well as needed nutrients like vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, and fat. Instead of vowing to weigh and measure your portions, try tuning into your fullness cues to work out when you've had enough food at each meal.
Brilliant, mate. So this non-diet approach sounds pretty interesting. Can you talk about why the non-diet approach is about respecting your body and eating to feel good?
Yeah, look, another reason to give the non-diet approach is a try is that it really does help you feel your best. There was another paper published that looks at the existing studies and found that intuitive eating, which is a popular non-diet approach, was associated with positive body image and body acceptance, self-esteem, and overall well-being. Of course, if you're not to hopping from diet to diet, avoid certain films or micromanaging your portion sizes, and shifting to a non-diet mindset can be tough.
Brilliant, mate. So now we spoke about the non-diet mindset, the non-diet approach. Can you give me some tips on how to eat to feel your best?
Sure, I've got four main tips. One is give yourself permission to eat the foods you like without guilt, right? So diet culture tells us that certain foods are good and others are bad, and unlearning that is really important. As you move toward a gentler approach to food, give yourself permission to eat what you want without guilt. If at first your cravings are screaming donuts all the time, give yourself some grace. Eat the donuts and remind yourself that food doesn't have moral value, right? Trust that those cravings will start to dull when you realize that eating several donuts a day doesn't make you feel so great, and that they'll still be there the next time you really want one. The second tip is to eat based on your hunger cues and cravings. So if you've been dieting for years, it might be hard to feel body cues like hunger and fullness. So it's important to approach this with curiosity. If you leave a meal feeling stuffed, don't beat yourself up or consider the meal a failure. Think of it as a learning experience. And at your next meal, consider slowing down a bit, or checking in every couple of minutes with how your stomach feels. Now, also note that it can take some time for your brain to recognize that your stomach feels full. So be sure to enjoy each bite mindfully, rather than eating for speed. I know a couple of times, just on a personal level, is I've been to some pubs and tried to get through a Parma, and I just can't get through it. They're just too big. But do I knuckle down and try and get it all in, or do I say, you know what, I've had enough, I'm full, and I'm not going to force it down? So that's what we're talking about around. Have a listen to your hunger cues. The third tip is appreciate your body for what it can do. In order to fully lean into a non-diet approach and allow yourself to eat what feels good, it's important to accept and appreciate your body instead of constantly trying to change it. If body acceptance feels like a huge ask, and it might, given our culture's obsession with thinness and the discrimination and oppression that fat people face, an expert says that you can start by cultivating appreciation for what your body can do. Notice the little things it does for you throughout the day. How your legs are able to walk from place to place, how your digestive system turns food into energy, how your arms allow you to cuddle a pet or a loved one. Our body does myriad impressive things every single day, many of which we don't even have to think about. It's pretty amazing, and supporting your body should make you feel amazing rather than ashamed. It's about being grateful and appreciate the things that it can do rather than what you think you want it to do or want it to look like. The last tip is to pay attention to how food makes you feel. Once you've cultivated some appreciation for your body, remind yourself that it deserves nourishment. Notice how much better you feel and how much more energy you have when you're properly fed and not stressing about food. This means meeting your nutritional needs while respecting your preferences and emotional needs, and acknowledging that the things that make you feel the best might change from day to day. We are humans, not robots after all. When you've gotten the hang of eating without guilt, listening to your hunger cues and appreciating your body as it is, start paying attention to how different food makes you feel. Unlike diets, which tell everyone to follow the same set of rules, a good relationship with food looks different for everyone. Right? Do certain meals leave you feeling energized while others make you a little sluggish? Do some foods sit better in your stomach than others? Are certain recipes really satisfying while others leave you wanting something more? Have a think about all that information, and so it'll help you make an informed decision about what eating well looks like for us.
So it sounds like listening to your body, being in the intuition side of it and the mindset, it really sounds like you really need to learn from your body and what feels best for you. Would that be correct?
Yeah. Without specific or tangible goals, lose X number of kilos and eat Y amount of calories per day, stop eating sugar, carbs, processed foods. It can be hard to quantify whether you're making progress. But eating well isn't about ticking certain boxes or following arbitrary rules. It's about casting those rules aside and figuring out what works best for you. The goal is to have a different, more free relationship with food and your body. Over time, you might start to notice benefits like more positive body image, better and more stable mood, and possibly an improvement in health markers like blood pressure and cholesterol levels. And the best way to do that is to eat in a way that nourishes and energizes you without feelings of stress, guilt, or shame.
Mate,
That's
amazing
it.
stuff. Really, really interesting stuff. The mindset stuff is incredible and super powerful. I think, straight off the top, you said it, for sustainable health benefits, it's really about having a good relationship with food, not doing something because you feel forced to do it because of the diet says so. So thank you for sharing that information, mate.
That's okay, Jason. Thanks to everyone. And as you know, I am your small business wellbeing clinician. I'm available on 1-800 Kinaway from 9 till 5. And the service that I provide from the Kinaway offices is for all you business owners and members of Kinaway, but also to your staff and your families. So if you've noticed any signs of stress and anxiety and feel like you or someone that you know would benefit from a quick chat with someone, it's 1-800-Kinaway. It comes straight through to me, and the service is free to you guys, and it's also completely private and confidential. So if you feel like a chat, please get on the phone and give us a call.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time and your wisdom again today, Brendon. It's been a great learning experience for me. Thank you, everyone.
No problems. See you next time.
See ya.